It is Monday, June 27, 2016. Welcome to the Government News Brief. In the news, Guyana to become a member of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, most of the flood-affected Region 5 communities back to normal, and more houses to be constructed by government in the hinterland. I am Azim Khan with the details of these and other stories. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. Here are the details. Guyana aims to submit its application for membership to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative (EITI) by November 2016. A World Bank consultant is assisting in the process. Tiffany Rodius reports.
World Bank consultant Ana Maria Rodriguez is in Guyana for 2 weeks to provide technical support to the government in the establishment of a multi-stakeholder group, MSG. The setting up of a MSG is pivotal to Guyana's candidacy for Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI.
Going to make sure that Darlene and all the stakeholders in Guyana understand the process in order to accommodate that process to the context of the country so that they can actually prepare for the candidacy of EITI and come up with a good work plan that it's going to be helpful for the country.
The Ministry of Natural Resources will be hosting a national symposium on Wednesday with civil society and industries aimed at reinvigorating interest in the process along with establishing the MSG, says EITI Technical Focal Point Officer Darlene Christian. The MSG comprises government, civil society and industry stakeholders.
Each sector will choose their own representatives, so that's why we have Anna here to guide in the process so that everyone understands the requirements of the representatives, how to choose their representatives, and to develop the TOR that would, at least a draft of the TOR that will guide the representatives on what they do and how they do it.
The Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI, is a global standard that promotes open and accountable management of a country's natural resources by strengthening government and company systems. Natural Resources Minister Raphael Trotman says subscribing to the standard is important, especially as Guyana looks to oil as a future revenue generator.
The government of the day is by and large to be seen as the stewards or the steward of this national patrimony, and so it's important that we make public the revenue from the extractive industries.
Guyana reaffirmed its commitment to joining the EITI at the World Congress held in Peru earlier this year. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rodius.
The majority of the Region 5 flood-affected communities are returning to normalcy after relief efforts by the NDIA. Details in this report.
Residents of several Region 5 communities which were affected by floodwaters are now breathing a sigh of relief, with most communities completely drained. This resulted from a collaborative effort by the Mahaica-Maiconia-Barry Agricultural Development Authority, MMA-ADA, and the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, NDIA.
We have to provide immediate relief to the residents. There are 7 locations where we're pumping water out of the communities. In Trafalgar, in Golden Grove, Union, and in Tempe. That's more temporary to provide immediate relief to the farmers, to the residents, as well as some to the farmers. The larger pumps now, along with the excavation of the outfall, that will now provide relief to the entire system. That will cater for the primary system. Apart from that, we have 5 excavators working in the various villages, clearing these tracks to get water to the pumps. And in anticipation of the outfall being cleared, we expect a faster flow from these channels.
General Manager of the MMA-ADA, Aubrey Charles, says the water levels in the facade and other main drainage canals in the agricultural district have now returned to normal levels. This is allowing water from the primary drains to flow via gravity into the main canals. Meanwhile, in keeping with the promise by Minister Kemraj Ramjatan for government to find a longer-term solution, the NDIA is moving apace to resuscitate one of the 2 fixed pumps located at the Trafalgar pump station.
Rest assured, we want a little longer-term plan to get those 2 red pumps there, the large ones that can pump a lot of water out very quickly. Fixed.
We have committed in our budget in 2016 to repair one of those pumps for $29 million. But with the process of getting a contractor and executing the works, we anticipate that works will finish probably just before the next rainy season.
Dredging operations continue to desilt the Trafalgar Outfall Channel. Last week, the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority was instrumental in making a pontoon and dredge available in the MMA ADA district to aid in the desilting of the canal. This is critical to draining excess water from the agricultural district by gravity flow. Many communities in Region 5 were flooded after heavy rainfall over the last 2 weeks, and compromised drainage canals failed to effect proper drainage. Kidaki Amsterdam, Government News Brief.
The government, with international financial assistance, will be constructing 17 houses and replacing the roofs of 26 other homes as part of the 2016 Hinterland Housing Project. More in this report.
12 communities in Region 1 and 9 will benefit, says Senior Community Development Officer for the Central Housing and Planning Authority, Donnell Bespascom.
In Region 1, these communities are Whitewater and Camwater in the Mabaruma sub-district. Then we go across to Maruka to High Macabra. And in the Matakai sub-region, we're having this program implemented as well in Sibai. In Region 9, we're working in Quatamang, Katoka, Masara. We're working in Karasabai, Hiowa. We're also working in Sand Creek, Pataranau, and Kardaranau.
The project provides for either the construction of full houses together with pit toilets and a rainwater harvesting system, or alternatively, the replacement of derelict thatch roofs with zinc roofs complete with a rainwater harvesting system as well as toilets.
This project has the objective of improving the livability of low-income households in pre-selected hinterland communities with an aim of improving access to housing, potable water, sanitation, and also promoting women's empowerment.
The housing official said that the CH&PA is currently in the process of satisfying the general and specific conditions associated with the projects for the work to begin.
All the communities will not be seeing housing construction commencing in 2016, but they will have houses and roofs done by the end of the program. However, in each community, we're looking at least having the initial conversations around beneficiary selection and promotion of the program, so all of the communities will have an opportunity to interface with the program beginning this year.
The new Sustainable Hinterland Housing Project is funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, through a $3.1 million loan. The project is a follow-on to the Hinterland Housing Pilot Project implemented between 2009 and 2015. This earlier project was the first state intervention specifically dedicated to addressing hinterland housing needs. Paul McAdam, Government News Brief.
Guyana can lead the Caribbean region in food security by developing a more focused agricultural policy. Find out how in this report.
Guyana has the lead responsibility for agriculture in CARICOM, and Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenwich says this country can be a strong leader in food security in the region with the development of pertinent agriculture policies.
And it can lead by itself, ensuring that its agricultural sector is given the wherewithal to meet the demands of those persons living within our region.
CARICOM has been addressing food security in the region, but Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenwich says infrastructure and incentives for increased agriculture production are needed. Through its CARICOM mandate, Guyana had proposed a strategy to reposition agriculture. It is believed that many aspects of that strategy would have to be reworked given the passage of time. Greenwich says that CARICOM will be reviewing that initiative in the coming year.
The heads of government will, at some point in the course of the coming year, will be reviewing the success and the outcome of that particular initiative, and I'm sure seeking to revamp it so that we can bring it up to date, bring it into the 2016 and deal with some of the more current issues as regards food security and food export capability.
The region's agriculture sector is hampered by an aging farming sector. Granite says CARICOM needs to ensure incentives are in place to attract younger persons to the sector.
Means will have to be found to provide incentives for young people to come into the agricultural sector, to provide means for financing short and long term to be provided to the farmers in the sector, and to ensure that women have a fair access to resources so that they can participate fully in the agricultural sector, which is not the case anymore.
The region's import food bill amounts to around $6 billion annually. With an improved food policy in place, there can be better food security and substantial savings for all CARICOM members. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
The government is moving to provide a better environment for people in the creative arts industry by way of legislation. More in this report.
Consultations on copyright legislation have already commenced with both government and private sector stakeholders, says Advisor on Cultural Policy, Will Johnson.
The very first thing we have to do is we have to tackle, when it comes to legislation, is copyright legislation. So what I've done so far is to put together a working group of people. I've consulted with people from various, both government entities as well as I call stakeholder groupings, and put together a working group.
Johnson says he's looking at interventions that can be made over both short and long-term periods. He notes that even though copyright legislation is on the front burner for creative artists to be fully catered for, other types of legislation must be taken into account.
Even as we're looking at copyright for now, we're also going to be looking at general intellectual property legislation that deals with everything from business branding, patents, to protecting indigenous cultural knowledge, traditional knowledge. That doesn't quite come under copyright, but it comes under protected intellectual property.
Once the consultations are completed and a solution is reached, the legislation for providing adequate grounds for creative artists will be realized. The copyright laws will help to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can be encouraged and allowed to flourish. It will provide opportunity for producers and creators of various works to profit financially from their efforts, which will be formally recognized. Artists have complained for several decades about the lack of inadequate copyright legislation. Isaiah Braffett, the Government News Brief.
That concludes today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on our website. Stay updated, subscribe to our website and YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook. We have recently revamped our website to make it more user-friendly. Please help us by providing feedback on how we can make your browsing experience better. You can submit your feedback at info@gina.gov.gy or by liking and following us on Facebook. Join us tomorrow again for another edition of the Government News Brief. Thank you for watching.